These girls are the fortunate ones, dancing and looking forward to life. In India, however, female infanticide means that 8 million girls have been aborted or killed at birth in the last 20 years. In Tamil Nadu, only 880 females survive for every 1,000 males. While governments debate this horrific genocide, it has largely been left to the non-government sector to rescue these girls. But many have been saved, and they'll continue to be cared for by the Lasallians throughout their young lives. In many parts of India, children with physical and mental challenges are considered to have been cursed, rather than being seen as a result of poor nutrition or medical care. At New Dawn, a facility dedicated to their care and rehabilitation, children learn appropriate life skills and vocational training so that they're able to make a positive contribution to village life. Here at Boys Village, the Lasallians care for AIDS orphans and other traumatised children who had been forced to beg on the streets.
Since 1974, more than about 2,000 children have passed this institution, basically qualified with a secondary education. Some of them have gone on to Boys Town to get a technical skill and settle down. And others have gone back to their own communities to help their own families. We have case histories of children who have experienced very emotional difficulties in their life by being witnesses to the murder of their own mother by the father. So those children have been referred to us by the court. At present, we have 2 boys, brothers. Their mother is in a hospice for HIV and she is dying. We call them the victims of HIV. This is Ramachandran. He is total orphan, he has nobody. He was found begging on the bus terminals. So one of the passengers who knew about this institution brought him here about 3 years back, and he is with us. He still believes that there are some relations, but we know we have made our own research, there's nobody there. And in fact, twice he has tried to run away from this place in search of his own parents. But then he was brought back by others who found him around. And then we have been counseling him, trying to help him to accept the fact that he is an orphan and he has to accept that social fact. Now it is about a year since he stopped running away. So he is settling down. I think he is just getting into the fact that he is an orphan. Apart from their studies, we have programs during the day in which they are involved in taking care of themselves, their surroundings, their personal belongings, and also learning certain leadership skills so they can become good citizens of this country.
In India, 5.7 million people are living with the HIV infection. 1.2 million children under the age of 15 have lost one or both parents to AIDS. Ignorance of the disease is frightening. Those who care for these children are doing extraordinary work.
We began to realise that there was an epidemic of AIDS coming up, that we're actually sitting on a time bomb. And nothing was being done, nothing at all was being done in the area for adults or children. And so we opened up and admitted AIDS-affected children, that's AIDS orphans, mother and father died of AIDS, as well as HIV-positive children. That started in a small way. The first year, 3 years ago, there weren't very many. Now we're up to 350 AIDS-affected children, and that is about a third of the whole number of children we have in our care. We have 1,010 children. Recently we had a meeting with people working with AIDS in the whole area, the 3 districts, and they came here, they had a meeting here, a government organised meeting, and they asked me to give a talk. So my emphasis has always been on what are you doing about the children affected by AIDS, AIDS orphans and HIV children. And my talk was that. Then at the end I asked them, have you done a survey to find out how many children are left behind when their parents have died? Not one of them had done the survey. So I said, you go back and please do a survey. And we are open to accept these children. That was about 6 months ago. Over the following months, we got a big jump in admission of children coming from those areas where they should have been taken notice of before.
These orphans, whose parents died of AIDS, have been brought into the clinic by their relatives because they're showing signs of HIV infection.
We have a hospice a half an hour away from here that we built and that we helped at the beginning with financial care. We still help. I have half a dozen children in there right now who were too ill for us to cope with. With us, so far 7 children have died from AIDS. Death from AIDS is awful to experience. It's quite a terrible death. But they've died in the hospices under the care of the sisters there. So.
Fortunately, many of these children can be saved, and with careful monitoring of their health, they can look forward to a productive life. Reaching the Unreached is an integrated project that covers the health, education and housing needs of the poorest of the poor in over 40 villages.
Very quickly, if you're in any of these villages, you'll see the shocking state of the housing. In this village, the immediate village, we've already built more than 1,000 houses. Mostly first for the Dalit community, that's the old outcast community. So we built first the Dalit colonies in each of the villages where we're working. But as a result of that, other things started coming up, like the ferrocement project, which is nearby. Where we make our own building blocks, we make our own ferrocement doors. We're the only ones making ferrocement doors, windows, shelves, etc. We have also recently got away from putting any wood into the roofs, or any wood at all into the house. So they now have a steel trusses on the roof with cement tiles. So the houses are permanently going to be there without any maintenance required. We've built 7,600 houses, community halls, we've built schools, we built more than 40 quite large schools in this area, higher secondary schools and right down to kindergartens over the same area we're working. We're covering 40 villages around here. We've had several groups of volunteers. This year in December and into January we had 12 from Australia. They have to pay their own passage and they have to pay for the house they built. In 1 month they built 12 houses in the middle of the village. So all the time they were relating with the very poor village people, which was very nice. Plus they stayed in the children's village. So in the evenings they were relating with the children and got very attached to the children. We had tears when they were leaving.
The quality of the agricultural land around Suriname is very marginal. Drought is common and even healthy drinking water is hard to find. As a result, there is a lot of pressure on parents to send their children out to work, to earn money for food, or for girls to stay at home and look after younger children so that both parents can work. However, parents in Suriname are now choosing to send their children to the Lasallian school. Unlike some government schools with their outdated curricula and brutal practices, many parents believe this school offers a chance to break the cycle of poverty and help their children live a better life.
The school was started in 1986. The De La Salle brothers started this school on the invitation of the Archbishop of Madurai, who was also the native of this village. He knew well that no other congregation would start an educational institution like this one. But when he invited us, we accepted this as a big challenge. We knew the risks and the challenges involved here. But in spite of that, we took up that challenge. We started it. Now at the moment we have enrolled 1,200 children. Our presence here, our project, educational project here in Suranam village has motivated most of the parents here to send their children to the best school available in this area, and they know the risk that is involved, the long distance they have to take, and sometimes they have to pay the children for their transport, and still parents prefer to send their children for education. Child labor was a problem of the past. I don't see any children staying back home because he has no access to studies or he has because of the problem of money. No, absolutely no. We are living here in predominantly in a Hindu society. We have some Muslims, and the society has composed of number of different castes. Whomever seeks admission here is given admission.
The last time Brother Paul visited the school, he saw the need for Mutha, an albino, to have light-sensitive glasses. He was covering his face with his hand to let in the least amount of light. Knowing they would inevitably receive harsh treatment, an Australian volunteer offered to make Mutha 2 pairs of special glasses that were relatively unbreakable. Simple acts like these can have a lifelong impact. These children work in a tanning factory alongside their parents. They suffer skin and other health complications from chemicals used in the tanning process. However, children who are forced to work can now learn skills that will take them out of the cycle of poverty. The Pudiyagam Support Centre for Street and Working Children was established in 1995 by St Joseph's Development Trust to help the children from the slums of Dindigul. Pudumanam Industrial School grew out of the needs identified by the support centre, in particular after Brother Sebastian introduced programs for those over 15 years who had insufficient education and skills training to be able to get meaningful employment. These are some of the classes that were established to meet those needs. So the school includes in its intake many working children and unskilled young people who are seen here at a school assembly. Such children are otherwise condemned to spend their lives working in near-slavery conditions, suffering ill health and shortened life expectancy. Nanban was established in 1990 to address the difficulties facing street children in Madurai. It trains street educators to look for children in areas where they're considered most at risk.
Our street educators, they spent about 8 to 10 hours in the main busy places of Madurai, like the temple area, the bus station, railway station, the marketplaces.
The educators approach at-risk children and invite them to visit the transit centre, where they're able to relax and discuss any problems they might have. Considerable effort is put into reassuring them, avoiding any pressure or criticism.
Then we always insist that street is not a place, home is the best place. We believe as long as the child is on the street within few days, then it is very easy to convince the child to get back to their family.
Nanban also receives referrals from the police and courts. 8 years ago, a mother was murdered on the steps leading to a temple, presumably by her husband, and an attempt had been made to strangle her daughter. The child was in a coma and spent 2 months in hospital.
When she started to talk, the first word she uttered was bolo. And it was a Hindi word, and none of us speak Hindi. And afterwards I realized bolo means talk.
Despite exhaustive efforts by the police and Nanban, no family connection could be found. After such trauma, it's not surprising that Thulasi was a difficult and demanding child. But after a number of different schools and great patience on the part of all concerned, she settled down at Nanban's girls' shelter.
Now she is doing her 6th standard, and very bright eyes you can see. She is such a beautiful gift from God. Enava marnunu aasapadra. After school, what do you want to become?
Doctor.
She wants to become a doctor. Why doctor? எதனால?
சயின்ஸ்ல என்னென்ன மனித உறுப்புகள் என்னென்ன இருக்கும்?
அது மட்டுமா இல்ல நிறைய பேருக்கு உதவி செய்யணும்னா?
நிறைய பேருக்கு உதவி செய்யணும்.
She wants to help many poor girls like her. That's why she wants to become a doctor.
Nanban estimates that it has supported 18,000 children over the last 17 years. With your help, the Lasallian Foundation can save thousands more children in Tamil Nadu.